The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of roasting meat and sweet fermenting beer. The aroma was intoxicating, drawing people in from miles around, promising a night of revelry and indulgence. Laughter echoed through the crowded square, bouncing off brightly decorated stalls. The sound was infectious, a symphony of joy that seemed to lift the spirits of everyone present. Friends clinked their mugs together, toasting to good health and fortune. Garlands of autumn leaves, their colors mirroring those of the beer, adorned every surface. The vibrant reds, oranges, and yellows created a tapestry of autumnal beauty, a visual feast that complemented the culinary delights on offer. Beneath the surface, a current of unease rippled through the revelry. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a shared unspoken tension that seemed to lurk in the shadows just out of sight. A disquiet as old as the ancient forest that loomed at the village edge. The forest, with its gnarled trees and dense underbrush, seemed to watch over the festivities with a silent, brooding presence. Each year they came. Villagers, their faces flushed with merriment and mugs full of cheer, celebrated Oktoberfest with an almost desperate fervor. It was as if they were trying to ward off some unseen threat, to keep the darkness at bay with their laughter and song. This year the air hummed differently. The laughter felt strained, the music too loud, the beer too quickly consumed. There was a sense of urgency, a need to drown out the whispers of fear that seemed to grow louder with each passing moment. An unknown dread clung to the revelers like the smoke from the roasting fires. It was a palpable thing, a weight that pressed down on their shoulders and made their smiles falter. The village elders, their faces etched with worry lines deeper than those carved by time, exchanged uneasy glances. They had seen many festivals come and go, but this one felt different. There was a sense of foreboding that they couldn't shake. They, more than anyone, knew the old tales. Stories whispered around crackling fires in the dead of winter, tales of a time when the forest was feared, and the harvest celebrated not with joy, but with blood. These stories were not just myths, but memories of a darker time, passed down through generations as a warning. The elders knew that the forest held secrets, and that sometimes those secrets demanded a price. They spoke of a time before Christianity, when pagan gods ruled the land and demanded tribute. These gods were not mere figments of imagination, but powerful entities that shaped the lives and destinies of those who worshipped them. Their influence was felt in every aspect of life, from the changing of the seasons to the success of the harvest. Gods of the hunt, the hearth, and most fearsome of all, the harvest. The hunt provided sustenance, the hearth warmth and safety, but the harvest was a matter of survival. The harvest god was both revered and feared, for his favor meant abundance, but his wrath could bring famine, a being of immense power, fueled by the lifeblood of the earth and the sacrifices offered in its name. Rituals were performed in dark forests, away from prying eyes, where the air was thick with the scent of earth and decay. Sacrificial altars bore the marks of countless offerings, each one a plea for mercy or a token of gratitude. His name, whispered like a curse, was intoxicating. To speak it aloud was to invite his attention, a risk few were willing to take. The name carried with it the weight of centuries, a reminder of the power that lay just beneath the surface of the everyday world. Legend had it that intoxicating slept beneath the earth, his slumber as cyclical as the seasons themselves. As the world turned and the seasons changed, so too did his state of rest and wakefulness. The cycles of nature were his domain, and he moved with them, an eternal presence in the ever-changing world. Each autumn, as the leaves turned and the harvest reached its peak, he stirred. The air grew colder, the days shorter, and the nights filled with a sense of anticipation. Festivals were held to mark the turning of the season, but beneath the surface, there was always a sense of unease. His presence, they said, could be felt in the rustling of leaves, the chill of the autumn wind, the unsettling feeling that something watched from the forest's edge. It was as if the very land itself was alive, aware, and waiting. The forest, once a place of refuge, became a realm of shadows and whispers. Generations had passed since the villagers last paid him homage. The old ways had been forgotten by many, replaced by new beliefs and practices. Yet, in the quiet moments, the stories persisted, passed down from elder to child, a thread of continuity in a changing world. The old ways had faded, replaced by new gods and new traditions. The rituals that once defined the community were now memories, echoes of a time when the world was a different place. Modern ceremonies took their place, but the essence of the old beliefs lingered, a ghost in the background. But the elders knew, deep in their bones, that some things could not be forgotten. The wisdom of the past was not so easily erased, and the stories of Erntedank and the old gods remained, a part of the collective memory. They knew that the land itself held these memories, and that the old powers were never truly gone. Some debts could not be left unpaid. The balance of the world required acknowledgement, and the old gods, though silent, still watched. The sacrifices of the past were a testament to this truth, a reminder that the forces of nature and the divine were intertwined, demanding respect and reverence. The festivities were in full swing when it happened. The air was filled with laughter, the clinking of beer mugs, and the joyous sounds of celebration. It was a night to remember, a night where the village came alive with the spirit of Oktoberfest. Amidst the revelry, a group of young men, emboldened by drink and bravado, decided to venture into the forest. They were fueled by the thrill of the unknown, the allure of the dark woods calling to them like a siren's song. They were seeking nothing more than a thrill, a way to prove their courage to the admiring glances of the village girls. Their laughter echoed through the trees as they ventured deeper, their bravado masking the underlying fear that gnawed at the edges of their minds. But what they found was something else entirely. Their laughter died in their throats as they stumbled upon a sight that none of them had expected. Hidden deep within the forest, shrouded by ancient oaks and cloaked in an unnatural silence, lay a ring of standing stones. These stones were not just old, they were ancient, older than memory itself. Their surfaces were etched with strange symbols that seemed to writhe and twist in the flickering light of the men's torches. The symbols glowed faintly, as if imbued with a life of their own, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. In their drunken stupor, the men saw not a sacred sight but a challenge, a chance to make their mark. They jeered and egged each other on, their bravado blinding them to the significance of what lay before them. They began to carve their names into the ancient stones, their laughter echoing through the unnatural stillness of the forest. Each stroke of their knives seemed to reverberate through the air, a desecration of something far beyond their understanding. They did not notice the temperature plummet or the wind pick up, swirling around them with a life of its own. The leaves rustled ominously, and their breath fogged in the cold air. But they were too engrossed in their mischief to pay heed. They did not notice the shadows that seemed to lengthen and twist, taking on menacing shapes. The forest itself seemed to come alive, the darkness growing thicker and more oppressive with each passing moment. They noticed nothing until it was too late. The realization dawned on them slowly, their laughter turning to gasps of horror as they looked around in confusion. The forest had changed, and so had their fate. The unearthed secrets of the ancient stones had awakened, and the young men were about to face the consequences of their reckless actions. The first sign was the silence. The once boisterous laughter died in their throats, replaced by a chilling quiet that seemed to press in on them from all sides. The air grew thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The torches flickered, casting grotesque dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and coil like living things. Panic flared in their eyes, the bravado replaced by a primal fear that chilled them to the bone. They tried to speak, but their words died in their throats, choked by the oppressive atmosphere. The forest, once a place of familiar beauty, had transformed into something alien and menacing. Then, the whispers started. At first, they were faint, like the rustling of leaves, barely audible above the pounding of their hearts. But slowly they grew louder, more insistent. As the group of adventurers ventured deeper into the shadowy German forest, the air grew thick with an unnatural chill. The eerie chorus of disembodied voices grew louder, their whispers crawling into the minds of the travelers, each word spoken in a long-forgotten tongue. It felt as though the very trees were watching, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes in the dying light. Suddenly, the distant wails that once seemed so far away grew alarmingly close. Panic set in. The adventurers turned back, desperate to escape, but the forest had transformed. The path they once knew was gone, swallowed by the shifting darkness. The thick underbrush seemed to close in around them, making every movement an exhausting effort. One by one, they began to vanish, each pulled into the shadows by unseen hands. The air crackled with a sinister energy as the last few remaining could feel their hearts race in sheer terror. Above the wails and the whispers, a low growl echoed from all directions, as if the forest itself had become a living, breathing entity, hungry for their souls. In the dim light, the final survivor fell to their knees, clutching at the damp earth as they realized the truth. This forest was not of this world. It was a prison for the dead, a realm where malevolent spirits trapped wanderers for eternity. The voices now spoke as one, their words dripping with an ancient and unforgiving power. None leave. The forest fell silent. The adventurers were never seen again.